Welcome to the Fireside PM podcast. I have Justin Kistner on the show, who is the founder of UpFocus, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But part of the premise for that product is helping PMs find product market fit. And I thought it would be really cool. So thanks to our mutual friend Maggie for introducing us. Welcome to the show, Justin. How you doing?
Yeah, doing good. Thanks, Tom. Happy to be here. Happy to talk about the product management journey.
Yeah. And before we got started, I had my green screen, and you had watched the previous episode where I was experimenting with a live background with my fish. So let us know in the comments if you prefer the live background. It's a little messier. You can see some of my aquarium supplies and things like that. But we'll see what the viewers think. I have no problem showing off my beautiful aquariums. So
I think we have to tell everybody that there's also a potential rename of the podcast that is Between Two Aquariums. That's see what viewers think about that.
That's right, Justin. You'll get major attribution for that idea. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you joining us from, and who are you?
Yeah, so I'm joining from Seattle.
Go Hawks.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a challenging turnover in quarterbacks this year, but
yeah, the first game was impressive though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, my background has been originally I started off in marketing, and then about 10 years ago, I was working at a company where we didn't have a very good product to sell, and my boss at the time encouraged me to go try product management. He's like, "We don't have a good product. Let's get what you think we should have." So I joined the world of PM like the way I think many of us do, which is I didn't intend to. I didn't go to school for it, and then just found myself learning on the job. Worked my way up through 4 different startups, all of them sort of venture backed, anywhere from 20 people up to 400 people, and then in my last 2, I was the VP of product and went through a couple of acquisitions. So kind of had a chance to see the full range of experience for at least the startup world of product management.
Yeah. And looking at your current efforts, your current startup, I was noticing like part of the theme was helping PMs find product market fit and the tools they use. I'm curious what kind of gave rise to starting with that idea, and what have you learned about how PMs find market fit?
Yeah, so I think I had a lot of painful experiences in product management, which again, sort of watching that episode with you, reflecting on your QRA answer on what makes a great product manager from 10 years ago, and sort of this notion of the product manager as a hero. I think I shared that ideal in the beginning. And since I was making products for digital marketing software, my experience being a digital marketer meant that I knew what we needed to build, and everyone was, welcome for me being here and imparting my genius, upon them in the market, which of course went poorly, because that does not create alignment. That does not allow other people to sort of see the information and, come to the same conclusion. So I realized that where I had failed was helping bring everyone else along with all the context that I had in my head. And that if they had that context, they either might have come to the same conclusion or something different, but we could have actually had a better conversation about it. So I created UpFocus to actually take a lot of what I think is a bottleneck for product managers, and sort of democratize the process more, so that everyone who is hearing feedback, whether that's a customer service or customer success person, a salesperson, the product person, and all of that information can kind of come together. so that, that experience is what allows us to then say, all right, now that we see the same information, let's have a more productive conversation about what are our best opportunities, what should we work on. So from a highest level, that's sort of why I created it.
Mm,
um, a great story that I think sort of illustrates a thing that I've learned is one of our customers is the product manager, former product manager at Google, became co-founder, all the chops in the world for how to do product management and do it well. And the way that he articulated is that it changed the nature of his conversations with his coworkers when it went from like, here's what I'm hearing from customers, to look, here's the summarized form of what our customers are saying, and here's what I think a good solution is. And then you're bringing everybody along in that sort of process. And when you're doing that, I think there's two things that happen. One, you get alignment.
mhm.
And two, how you find product market fit is really a truth seeking quest. um, it isn't about like you start off with the right answers. So how do you make sure that you're sort of getting that feedback, um, and not just talking to customers, but what's the output of what you heard, and where is that being captured, and then where is that being reflected and distilled and sort of compared against all of our other opportunities like that. That's the part that I feel like is not commonly understood about the product market fit journey.
Yeah. Well, so much to unpack there. Let's start with your experience as being a PM for a product designed to serve what you had done in a prior role.
Yeah.
On first glance, you could argue like, oh my God, that's the perfect PM. He's basically building something for customers like him. Why? Tell me a little more about why that wasn't an instant slam dunk. Was it because it was hard to bring people along, or do you think that maybe you had some biases or some blind spots yourself, or what made that hard?
Yeah. The answer is it's probably a little of both. Um, and but the former is certainly the bigger problem, which is in order for the team to do really well and everybody to give their best, they need to believe in what they're doing, and they need to have all the context for why they're doing what they're doing, so that as they have to make a little micro decisions along the way, they can do so. So the net effect of being an expert and sort of saying, okay, here's what we need to build, and focusing mostly on the specs, like here's the details of what to build, is you don't provide enough of the why.
Hmm.
um, and it just comes out as blah blah blah, trust me.
Yeah.
And that can work if everyone in the company trusts you and sees you as this like visionary leader that they're happy to get behind. um, but if you're not that, which is how it is for most of us,
Yep.
it just comes off as, who the hell is this guy? Why does he think that we need to do blah blah blah? That
Hmm.
doesn't sound like what I heard from a customer in a conversation just yesterday. And then that creates a lot of either reluctantly doing the work, or stuff that gets escalated in the executive team meeting later that distracts the team, maybe even shifts priorities,
Hmm.
and doesn't drive alignment, and doesn't create the sort of we're all rowing the boat together, in harmony.
That reminds me, when I was at Microsoft earlier in my PM career, um, we did some field visits, and one of the UX researchers was like, "Oh, I see you're bringing some engineers with you. Be careful because they have a tendency to over-index on one or two customer conversations, and it becomes like their north star for the next 2 years. And because they want to be customer kind of centric and responsive, but because of their job, they're not able to see all of the data and all of the insights. And
Yeah.
it sounds like, you've observed that as well, where you kind of want to help that team see the bigger picture, but it's more than trust me here. I've done the work, here's the requirements. They need to be part of, they need to see how the sausage is made a little bit too.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think that comment that you just said from a UX researcher, it's not wrong in saying, we got to make sure that we are providing enough context, that we are focusing on the right things. But then we sort of go the complete opposite, which is, therefore, I'm going to hide it all from you, and sort of spoon feed you what I think is the right answer. And engineers are really smart people, and so that's not the right way to
Yeah. Yeah.
engage their minds. And so it comes with another problem, which is most of the time there's not enough product resources. And so you kind of have two modes that you have to do in product management, which is discovery, a lot of that research and talking to customers and prioritization. And then you have to do like the spec writing, creating tickets and all of that actually gives the engineers the things they need to be able to do their tasks. And we over index on how much time we spend on that, and we don't do enough to be able to show, here's how we came to the conclusions, or even better, like bring the team along as we're coming to those conclusions, so that by the time they see it land in their inbox as a task, that they're already bought in and aligned and have weighed in and are ready to work on it. A lot of thoughts about why that is, but I'll just kind of pause there.
Yeah. No, it's such a hard problem to solve. As you've looked at how teams that are successful, some best practices that they use, like what are some of the things that you've noticed in your research for UpFocus on, when it works well, like these are some common elements that people use.
So one of them is that you take the idea of product market fit as a growth mindset, and that you are trying to figure out, how do we make a product that is good enough for organic growth? Like that, in my mind, is how I think about product market fit, where this thing is good enough that people will start to tell other people, or if somebody comes across it, it resonates with them, really quickly. If you're an investor, you also want that to be a big market, but I don't think that's a requirement for product market fit. That's a different type of desire. So because there is so much work for collecting feedback and cataloging that feedback and comparing that against your app analytics and comparing that against sort of market news, and knowing that there's just generally, for most companies, not enough product managers to do all of that work, one of the things that's really important for teams that are successful is to share in those duties. So the companies that we have seen that do well with that enlist the customer success team and the sales team as partners in the process, so that they are clear on where to be able to share that feedback that they're getting. It's not met with this like, oh, you didn't ask the right follow-up questions to get at the why. You're taking the feedback in the form that it is coming in, and then you're doing some cataloging of that, and that cataloging is essentially breaking it into topics, so you can more easily browse what is all the feedback and see where there are lots of pieces of feedback that align under a specific topic. And then as a product person, you might go deeper and ask some of those why questions, and you see the context of who the customer is. And by doing that, it kind of brings everybody into the process of, what are we hearing? What are we learning? Where is our shared repository of understanding? And it isn't just, I have to go be the one to talk to customers. And if it didn't, if I'm not the product manager in that interview, then I discount that feedback to zero. That's kind of one of the very important first things. There's another, but in case you want to go in on that one more,
Yeah, I mean, on that one, you're definitely, it sounds like you're democratizing part of the product management function and making it more of a team-based kind of discipline.
Yeah.
And it definitely conflicts with the PM as like Christ figure that's going to save everybody and tell you exactly what to do, because they're the smartest person in the room kind of thing. How
Yeah.
have you like what's your sense of the role of a PM in that team-based approach? They don't want to be just like a note taker, right? They have a
Right.
point of
Right.
view.
Yeah. I think the thing that's most important that a PM does is sits on top of that sort of cataloged feedback, the app analytics data, and they do the work of turning those into opportunities to say, okay, given what we're hearing,
Mhm.
here's what I think the opportunity is for, you know, from the perspective of our customer. And then here are the possible solutions that we could do at a very high level. Um, and if you're doing that well, you are partnering with your, design and engineering teams to craft those possible solutions so that what you end up with is a backlog of opportunities. It's opportunity management.
Mm.
um, and you're focusing, on that. And then if you're doing, a lot of the research work, it's more of the, because of the stuff that we are hearing and what we're seeing and the opportunities we're aware of, we want to go a little deeper on XYZ, you know, either insight or opportunity. Um, and and that, I think, produces plenty of room for a product manager to be a, a valuable role. But it does sort of change the nature of how product management is approached at most companies.
And I would imagine folks listening to this may say to themselves, "Oh my, that's now going to take forever to get all of my opinionated team members, on the same page and to have the debates over how we interpret different data points from customers or elsewhere." And it was so much faster in the old days to put a stake in the ground and say, hey, this is a problem I think we should solve, and here's how we can solve it. And maybe they poke around the edges, but you can get to like a alignment a little earlier. Maybe it's not deep alignment because you don't have people kind of contributing as much along the way. How do you think about like the pros and cons of this more collaborative team-based approach to product management and finding fit versus maybe the more directed method?
Yeah, I think it's worth noting that most people fail to find product market fit. So there's a bit of like, maybe it was quote unquote faster to ship something,
Mm,
but it really doesn't matter if you ship something that isn't good. Um, and so, my philosophy is less of a like, get shit done, move fast and break things, and I'm
mhm,
more of a like, measure twice, cut once
mhm,
type person, and spending more time on understanding the problem. And there's definitely, you don't have to just sit around for a long time and just wait for like feedback to roll in. It's, you know, part of, for example, with UpFocus, we include turnkey surveys. And so if you send a survey out and you get feedback in, that's a pretty quick hit of signal. Um, and then there's still going to be, as a product manager, based on some of the things I've done, I'm going to go line up interviews. So it's not to say that you don't do any of that work.
mhm,
It's just the recognition that alongside the things that you're looking into, there's still new information that's going to come in on a regular basis from the rest of the team. And if you ignore that or act like it's not important, it's just going to come up and derail your strategic effort in some other way. Um, or it's going to like demoralize your team, and
mhm.
that'll have, different types of effects. So, I don't know if that kind of helps
Yeah,
sort of
it does.
share. Yeah.
Let's shift gears and talk about UpFocus. So it sounds like you've built some stuff to help facilitate this process. Uh, I come from a era where most of the product management kind of rubber hits the pavement where, in the form of PowerPoint or a Word doc, or now, slides or Google Docs, maybe
Or
some
Excel.
Slack conversations, a little Trello here and there.
Yep.
You know, sounds like you were building stuff actually made for product managers, which sounds interesting.
Yeah, I love the summary of stuff that you shared. That's actually how I start by positioning with new customers. Don't do that. That's like product managers making their own tools and own processes,
Mhm.
hacking them from uh, very general purpose tools.
Mhm.
Um, Even if you're using something like Airtable or Monday.com or
Mhm.
Notion, these are still like you're rolling your own tools when you're doing that. And that's like I was just explained. It's like a pizza delivery person making their own car.
Mm.
It's not where you should be focusing your time. You're supposed to be building the other tools like for your customers. Um, I certainly understand why product managers have done that. One, I think all of us in the trade tend to have a passion for tinkering and making things. That's sort of why you're in that space. So the idea of like,
Mhm.
well, I can picture it. I can make it. It's not that big of a deal, even though it is actually a big time suck. Um, the other is there haven't really been tools available. So if you didn't use an office suite or a whiteboard with sticky notes, then what were you going to do? Um,
Mhm.
so I think UpFocus, along with several other companies early stage, have recognized there's this big gap in purpose-built tools for the product discovery portion of the workflow. All the stuff for what should you actually work on. In the sort of classic agile story, it starts with like the product manager showing up with these prioritized user stories, and then the rest of the description is how you are executing on that work, but like zero explanation for how did that product manager show up with all those stories.
Mhm.
And that's a whole workflow. So it's gathering feedback, it's cataloging those insights so that you're not just listening to customers, but you're distilling those and making that available for the organization to see and consume. And then having the ability to do turnkey surveys, and then the ability to do opportunity management, um, which again, there's a whole set of discussions on that one about how that's very different than project management and why you should not be using project management tools for managing your ideas.
What would be an example of a really effective kind of killer feature that you demo when you try and explain to people what this means? Because I think I understand in theory, like, yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds really cool. But like, what does it actually look like? By the way, you could share
Yeah.
your screen if you want to do a demo. I'm fine with that as well.
Yeah, that's I'm gonna come back to that
Okay.
just
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I don't have it queued up, and let me just kind of quickly speak to it, which is
Sure. Yeah.
one of the things I often show is one of the things we have built into the tool is the product market fit survey.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and certainly doing a product market fit survey is not that hard to bust out a type form or a Google
Mm-hmm.
form or something like that. But it's the work that you have to do once the answers come in. And so what we have is both AI topic extraction, so that you can take a lot of that unstructured data and start to turn it into structured data. And we also have a human-based experience that makes it really fast to be able to highlight snippets and apply a topic to those. And then that starts to give you this view that says, all right, here, we just took all of these survey results and now very quickly turn that into some structured understanding that we can start to then take action on, um, which is starting to frame them as opportunities. And I think when people see like, oh gosh, the experience of I'm going to export all these survey results from some random survey tool, end up with a CSV, and then start to, monkey around with that in a spreadsheet. It's much less desirable.
So I've fired up your website, upfocus.io, and clicked on the features tab, as any PM would likely do.
Nice. Yeah. Awesome.
Tell me what we're seeing here. What is this?
Yeah. So this is an individual customer record. So that's one of the things is everything ties back to a customer. So it's not just tasks in a project board, but it's here's the customer. And so in this one, you see an example at the top of how they filled out the product market fit survey, which is that classic, how would you feel if you could no longer use this product? And then what can we do to make it better? And that sort of set of questions.
Yeah.
And then any other suggestions that they've made, that might have been something that came through a help desk software or a salesperson captured it in a CRM. We can pull those in. So you end up with this product level CRM view of a customer. That's helpful if you're trying to drill in on a specific customer. I think as you were scrolling down, you can start to then see, at a topic level, here's an example of maybe what you were hearing from your customers was we need a Jira integration. And so then you can see, here's all the different customers who have given us this feedback. You have the opportunity when you're inputting this feedback to indicate what the customer's sort of importance and urgency is. That creates this customer need level score. So you can start to see if you're somebody like an engineer or a leader who's not in the product team and you want to know like, why do we keep hearing about Jira integration? Here's all that sort of why captured in a way that the business can understand.
Yeah. What's this over here? Yeah.
Yeah. So on this one, you're looking at essentially a list, and I realize it's sort of cut off on the left side here. But this is the list of all of your topics. So that Jira integration alongside, the other topics that you're looking at. And now what you're starting to do is say, what are we going to do about this? And so that's the status that you see there. Is this something we're going to solve? Is this something that we're going to review? Is this something we still need to evaluate? This comes up a lot because if you're a customer facing person and you've captured some feedback from a customer, there's always this question of like, well, what are we doing with it? And if what you did is you just like took that and stuck it in a backlog or in a spreadsheet somewhere, it's really impossible for anybody to know what are we going to do about it. It also gives them a sense of if we're not doing something about it, how can I tell the story to the customer of, hey, we're not focusing on that right now. And that's because we're focusing on some of these other things so that they understand that it's not a no, it's a here's how it fits in context with everything else.
Where does engineering costing come into the conversation? Because it sounds like you may get a lot. Sometimes you get suggestions that you agree would be awesome, and then the engineers say like, well, that would require 2 years of work, and then it gets prioritized appropriately. How does that fit into your workflow?
Yeah. So the next stage after you sort of say, all right, if we think we should solve this thing, then you turn it into what we call a dev idea. Think about this as like a 1-page. All right, what would the solution for the Jira integration look like? And in that sense, you have a value and an effort estimation that goes with that. One thing that we did that I really like and customers have given us good feedback on is instead of just saying pick a like small, medium, large, which is like, I don't know what that means. And you usually end up with like small means less than 2 weeks, medium means 2 to 4 weeks, instead of that, we ask more specific questions. Like on the value one, we'll say, is this going to have an impact on the amount of customers who sign up? Is it going to have an impact on the amount that they give us per month, the MRR? Is it going to have an impact on how many months they're a customer? What? And then we let you specify what we call a midpoint, where if you say above this would be big, around this would be medium, and below this would be small. So like if it would be a 10% increase in MRR, is that for your organization something that would be meaningful? Like that would be big? Or is around that medium? Or, you can set whatever the percentage number is, so that as you're sort of answering these questions, if you're a salesperson or the CEO or the CFO and you're like, what does a score of 9 mean? You can actually look at it in the context of sort of a lifetime value equation. But it's just as easy for the team to be able to fill out the estimation as something like t-shirt sizing.
Very cool. Well, Justin, it's been great to kind of hear someone who's thought about the art and science of product management and try to kind of formalize it and build a software framework to facilitate it. Tell us a little more about how if a PM's watching this and they're like, oh, I might want to try that. What's that process like to kind of get started and give it a
Yeah.
whirl without having to get like 100 VPs to agree to try and do it?
Yeah, I think first, you can do a free trial.
Mm-hmm.
And so, signing up and sort of getting in and pushing the buttons is pretty straightforward. The thing I'll say is the experience becomes useful, a real aha moment, when you have some of your real customer feedback in there.
Mm.
The benchmark that we have found for when customers start to really see the value and become successful with with UpFocus is when they have at least 50 pieces of feedback that they have turned into 10 topics.
Mm.
And the absolute easiest way to do that is to be able to send out a product market fit survey.
Right.
And you can do that by we have a public link where you can grab that link and just drop it into an email. Or you can, we actually have the ability to do a mail merge if you want to sort of set that up with your email system. So that's probably the easiest. You can also do something like export some feedback that you have from another system, and start to import that into UpFocus. But yeah, once you start to see your feedback that you start to organize, and go through that sort of experience, that's the first sort of value moment.
Love it. I actually have some nonprofit volunteer projects that I work on for where we're developing some product. Maybe I'll see if I can try out UpFocus to see how it works.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's been fantastic to have you on, Justin. And sounds like you're working on really important stuff that could help the world get a lot more better products that fit real customer needs, which is a win for everyone. We'll have to have you back on the show as the company progresses and as you maybe have some case studies and things like that. You may already have that, but we can do that as a follow-up conversation. Was there anything else you wanted to share before we wrap up? It's been really great chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I for people who are watching your show and listening, if they sign up, ping me and let me know. I'll give you a little extra help getting started. And if we're successful in our journey here, then I do think that the ultimate outcome is that we make more companies successful at doing product management and doing product discovery. And that's just a win for everybody, because it just means a greater diversity of software companies. And that's awesome.
Succeeding. Yeah. And having impact. I love it. It's great. Yeah. Just if you want to give it a try and you have feedback or you want to get some extra help from Justin, how would they reach out to you?
Once you sign up, we've got sort of your typical in-app, chat widgets. So you can just ping me on there after you sign up.
Love it. Just mention that you heard this on the Fireside PM podcast or Between Two Aquariums. Justin will give you the VIP treatment.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Justin. Have a great rest of your day. And if anyone found this useful, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and check out upfocus.io to learn more about Justin's product management product and find fit faster, more collaboratively, and have a more successful company as a result. So everybody wins.
Awesome.
All
Thanks,
right.
Tom.
Take care, Justin. Bye.